Hello, welcome back. So today we are going to be fixing a LAN, or basically we're going to configure Opensense so that a student box can actually route out. So first thing we want to ping is the internet. So as you can see, this device is going to try to ping out and it's going to fail. And then this student is going to also try to ping the gateway, which is right here. So this is the gateway to going out, and they're going to fail. So we need to set up the LAN side of this so that this student can reach the edge router LAN port, then go through the WAN port of that router, then connect to the LAN port of the core router that goes to the WAN port of that core router, and then out to the internet. So it's a little bit of a configuration that's going to happen. So if I could just go ahead and show you real quick what the network kind of look like so you have a better understanding. So at this level, this is going to be the student PCs here, which is a 172.16.100.20, and they now need to be able to communicate, right? So the communication has to go down. So let me no. So now they have to be able to communicate downwards, right? To where they're going to hit the edge router. So the edge router is now going to be sitting on a 172.16.100.1. So that's the first IP that we were trying to ping earlier, right? And then from here, so that's the edge router LAN right there. So that's the LAN ports of the edge router. So now from the edge router LAN, we got to go through the edge router right here. So we went to the edge router LAN port. Now we need to go to the edge router WAN right there. So the edge router WAN, sorry, is on a 10 network. So it's on a 10.0.0.100. Since this is student 100, that's how it's built out. Okay, so you're going to see a lot of NAT routing happening here. So we go from the edge router LAN, we're going to go to the edge router LAN, which now needs to communicate to the core router. So we're going to do core. So we have a core router here, and the students know this based on what they set up. So this is a core router, which sits on the next 10 networks. So 10.0.0.1 here. So that is the WAN port of the core router, right? And then they need to route out now to the core router WAN. So with the core router, and then the core router WAN port is now on a 192 network. So it's on 192.168.1. I think it's 108 is the WAN IP. And then from the WAN IP, now they have to be able to connect to the gateway, which is the upstream. So this will be the upstream gateway, okay, which sits on the 192.168.1.254, So that's the GW. And then from here now, they are going to go out to internet, which we're going to test Google IP. So we'll just do 8.8.8.8. So that is basically the cloud. So that's basically the route that we want to take to get out. So currently now the students, when they start off, they have to route all the way here by setting up to try to get out to the internet. That's how this entire infrastructure is set up. So what we're having issues with is that they cannot really go out right now because the router is not set up. So as you can see here, I'm trying to ping all the way to the distant end, which is, if I stop this, you'll see that this is going to the last 8.8.8. That means from here to here, they would have to pass traffic all the way through using firewalls, NAT capabilities, and everything. I've already configured the firewalls to allow these to happen. So the last step the students will have to do here is basically configure the LAN and the WAN ports to allow this to work. So we'll talk about the firewall stuff later. For the students that are in the pod that need this video, they'll have to set this up. So I'm going to leave these things to ping all the way through just as a test, and we can see how it goes. So this is the gateway, and then this is basically pinging the .1 here. So the goal is to get these to be resolved after we set it up. So let's go ahead and bring over our router. All right, so we're using the Opensense router gateway that we're setting up. I'm going to bring this up to full screen. Once you start here, you want to go ahead and assign the interfaces. So the LAN needs to be on the VNet 1 and vice versa, right? So that's how the classroom is set up. So the first thing we want to do is assign the IP addresses. So we'll go to 1 and we'll say no for lags, and then VLANs no, right? So it's going to ask us now to enter the WAN interface name. So the WAN interface name is VNet, which is VTNet 0 is the WAN interface. Okay, so VTNet 0 should be the WAN interface. So we're going to hit go ahead and hit the enter there. This is where I'm pulling it from. And then the LAN interface is VTNet 1. Okay, so now I don't have an optional interface, meaning if I had more interfaces, I can configure them. But currently I'm only doing the LAN and the WAN, so don't worry about these. So you're just going to go ahead and hit enter here. Now it's going to ask you, do you want to proceed? You want to hit Y here because you're confirming that this is going to go through. So let this run through, and it's going to assign now the proper WAN and LAN interfaces that they should be. I have all type of folks messaging me, so you probably hear some noises in the background. Okay. So the interface is building. Should take about a few seconds to a minute. So just let it run. Okay, so starting the DNS now, and normally after this part, it should populate that is good to go. Okay, so any minute now, this should be ready. Okay, there we go. So now we know that the LAN is on VT1 and the WAN is on here. So now we need to make sure we set the correct IP addresses so that these to go, because this is an invalid IP. Okay, so we need to go ahead and assign. So we're going to go to 2 and we're going to assign the interface IP. So we're going to start off with the LAN first, and we're going to hit 1 here, and then we're going to configure the IP address. So DHCP, we're going to say no, and we're going to enter the IP address of the LAN. So we're going to 172.168.100.1. That is the IP address for the LAN for this router. So we'll go ahead and hit enter. Now it's going to ask for the mask or the slider notation. The /24 here will represent the 255.255.0, which is a Class C address that we're working on. So we're going to go ahead and hit 24. Once you hit 24 here, that's good. For the WAN and LAN upstream, you do not put an upstream on the LAN interface, so we're going to leave that as nothing, and we're just going to go ahead and hit enter. Now we're going to hit no right here for everything next. We're not going to do nothing. DHCP, no, 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 and let this configure itself. So now, if you take a look at this, the 100.1 now is up, right? So that means you can see that VNet 1 is good to go. 192.168 100.1 is good. So if we drop down and double check our box that we were working on the back, now you can see right here that the student now can ping the .1, the LAN. Okay, so you see that, right? So the WAN is good. So we know now that this student can ping the WAN. So we can stop it here because the WAN is good. So now we can get to the WAN. Can we get to 10.0.0.100? That's where we're trying to get to now. Now, 100 lives on the other side of this port. That means this WAN right here is going to be connected to this WAN in order for you to communicate. We still can't get out because we only was able to configure the .1. So that means we need to now go in and configure the WAN so the WAN on the router can talk to the LAN on the core router, which is going to allow us to go out here. So let's go back in, and now we're going to configure the WAN ports right here. So now we're going to go back into here. We're going to assign an IP interface. So we are going to go ahead and set the IP interface here. We're going to do number 2 and hit enter. And then now we're going to do 2. And since here we're going to say configure IP address DHCP, we'll say no. And then enter the WAN address. Remember, this is the 10 network. So we're going to do 10.0.0.100 because that's the IP address for the WAN side of this one. And we'll hit enter. We're going to do 24 again here. And then now it's going to ask the upstream IP address, which is on the WAN. You have to put the upstream is going to be the IP address of your core router. So this is where we'll do the 10.0.0.1 for the upstream address. And we'll hit the enter here. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to use the gateway? Do you want to use the gateway as an IP for? So you can say yes here, and then everything else is going to be no. So no right there. We don't need nothing for IPv6. No here, no here, no here. And then it's going to go ahead and bind, configure the WAN port now for this to work. I'm going to drop down now and take a look at the box again. Now, as you can see, now we are able to ping the .100, right? So we're making progress. So now we were able to ping .1. Now we can ping .100. So we can hit the WAN on that side. So we can stop this ping. And now we need to take a look at, okay, if we could ping the WAN here, can I ping .1 there? So now I can get to .1 as you can see. So now I'm all the way here. Okay. So this is good progress. So now that I can ping the .1, can I ping another IP address? 192.168.1.108. Can I ping 108? 108 is successful. So now that I know that I can ping 108, that means I'm good to go here, right? So now from 108, I need to be able to get to 254. 254 is the gateway. So can I get to the 254? 254. Yes, I can now talk to 254, which is good. So that means from 254, I should be able to now ping all the way to the internet. So if I did a 1.1.1 as a Cloudflare, there you go. It is working. And then I can also do now 8.8.8.8. And you should be able to ping all the way to the internet. So there you go. This is probably just timed out. Let me see what happened over here. It's going over. So there you go. That was just probably timed out. So now you have packets flowing all the way from the student network right here, from the student PC, from the 172, converts over to a 10 network, then it jumps on a 192 network, and then it goes out to the cloud. Now, in between these, I've set up firewalls that converts everything over. So the students don't have to worry about firewall because the class is not about firewall, but it's just about showing the routing protocols. We're using NAT to convert a little bit of firewall and inbound outroll rules with ACLs and so forth. And that's a deeper level of routing. But for this lab purpose, especially if you're working on a hackathon, as long as you configure this right here for my students, you want to make sure that these two are configured. Your LAN network needs to be configured on here, and then you need to also configure your WAN IP. Once you have these IP configured per your pod, because remember, you're going to change these numbers to make sure they match your student number. And once that is complete, you should have access to the internet. Okay, so thank you guys so much for watching. This is a short clip on how to route all the way through with Opensense, configuring it as a gateway and using it as a router, edge router, and the core router. And for everyone else that's trying to figure out how this route, I have another router, which I'll bring down here. So this is the core router, and it's the way it's set up. So the core router looks just like this. And that's basically now the core. That router that you saw me set up earlier is connected to this network as the gateway that routes now on a separate network that goes to the 108. So that's where I got those numbers from. And then from here, it goes directly to another physical router that connects the students out to the internet. Okay, so hope this was successful. Hope you guys learned a lot. Let me know in the comments what you think. And for my students that are following this lab, now you should be able to access the internet. Okay, until next time, I'll talk to you guys later.